Good evening and welcome to the Council Advisory Committee CAC meeting of 12 April 2021. This meeting is being conducted with COVID-19 protocols in place for social distancing and isolation. The meeting is being conducted electronically using Zoom and is being live streamed on Facebook Live. The most up-to-date meeting package is on the Town of Kentfield website. The public may send questions directly to the recording secretary email at jwest@kentfield.ca. And a reminder to our public is public comments are not read or acknowledged until the end of the meeting, just before we go into the in-camera part of the session. And this meeting is called to order. Have all of the councillors received and reviewed their meeting packages? Does any member of council have information pertaining to a matter before this council which has not been publicly circulated? As the Council Advisory Committee, we will vote as a committee to either send business forward to the council meeting for ratification, return to staff for further information or review, or defeat the recommendation. I will remind members of council that we should continue to be mindful of our decision-making wheel to make balanced and respectful decisions while adhering to our code of conduct. We will be voting by poll. The chair will call your name and ask how say you. This method permits us to verbally record your vote. Are there any conflict of interest issues we should be aware of before the meeting commences? CEO Trope, could you please take the roll call?
Thank you, Mayor Snow. And based upon the names and the faces I see on the screen, all of council is present and accounted for.
Perfect. Thank you very much. CAO, we have been provided with the proposed agenda. Do you have anything to add?
There was a document came forward, Mayor Snow, asking for an item to be added to new business.
Thank you.
And that item, I believe, has been circulated to council regarding interest relief on ice rentals.
Thank you. So that will be item 8A under new business. It's a request for decision on interest relief. And if there's nothing more, I would entertain a motion to accept the additions.
So moved.
Thank you. And a seconder?
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Gerard. All those in favor? Those opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you. We move on to approval of the minutes. The minutes that we have before us are the March 8th, 2021 CAC meeting, and they have been distributed for your approval. Are there any changes to these minutes? If not, they will be approved as distributed. If yes, the recording secretary will annotate the minutes in red, and the annotated minutes will be added to the electronic meeting file as approved. Is there anything to add? Nothing? All right, then that is a no. They remain as they are. So we'll move on right now to our presentations. We have 3 presentations this evening, and I would ask our presenters to be mindful of the time. You have 10 minutes to present, and then council has time to ask you questions or comments on your presentation. So our first presentation is Friends of the Kentfield Ravine with Mr. Ken Harrison.
Good evening. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Beautiful.
Okay, great. What we have with the Elderkin Brook Ravine is really a unique opportunity, and we really wanted to bring that back to your attention. So you can advance the slide now, please. And as you all know, the town of Kentfield has been involved with the research station Ravine and has now taken over an easement for the next 48 or 47 years, whatever is left. Next slide, please. The area in green is about 170 hectares, in other words, 420 acres. And we've been interested in this area since about 2013 or 2014. Next slide, please. The ravine has been used for education for over 100 years. It has a remnant of old growth hemlock and white pine. And these features are really quite unique. It's got a well-documented flora, terrestrial, and aquatic fauna, and they really provide a baseline for observing change over time. The ravine is uniquely accessible on a municipal bus route. It's really a quiet refuge that's very close to the town and also to the village of New Minas and Kings County. Next slide, please. A lot has changed since 1945 when this particular air photo was taken. As you can see on the New Minas side, it's just apple trees. It's now Kentucky Court and all the rest of it. And if it's one of the things that's in one of the histories of the ravine, it's a unique component of this ravine is a block of virgin forest with trees hundreds of years old, which have never been ravaged by fire. Where natural selection is allowed to take place, nothing is removed. It is widely used by biology students and naturalists. That's a direct quote from the 1986 history. Next slide, please. This is the lower end of that same image, and it shows the access road that comes in from Eves Hollow and carries on through the floodplain all the way up, and you may see a small square or rectangle. That used to be the site of the only swimming pool in Kentfield up until about 1950, when they realized that it probably was not a good idea to have it there from a liability point of view. And they were using water coming in from New Minas, so that was a concern. The road that was there was used as a buggy road up until about 1935 or so, and then they cut off access. So next slide, please. At the moment, the only way into the upper part of the ravine is down this steep slope. And I think there's a way to address that issue. Next slide, please. And this is an overview showing the ravine, the Elderkin Brook, and you'll notice there's one area that's marked wet and muddy section, and then there's a second bridge, which was removed by agriculture a number of years ago because it was being eroded by the flowage coming in from New Minas, that little blue line. And down at the very bottom of the image, you'll see that there's the old trailer park now, which is long gone. It's now the Kent Building Supplies site. Next slide, please. The ravine only represents about 8% of the total Elderkin Brook watershed. And any land clearing or development along the to the south of exit 12 can bring a tremendous amount of water into the ravine and cause a great deal of erosion. I was here in town in August 1971 when Hurricane Beth dumped 7.36 inches of rain in about 36 hours. And it washed Prospect Road directly into the ravine. And it also overtopped the road at Eves Hollow. And so the only way out of Kentfield was to go through Coldbrook and get up onto the 101, which had just opened. Next slide, please. This is an example of what happens with just an ordinary rainfall of about 2 inches. Saturday morning versus Sunday morning, and you can see the erosion that occurs. Next slide, please. And you can see the rush of water. This is where the second bridge was. And I think there's a way to replace that with a much smaller bridge without causing any problems. And you can see the amount of water flow, and this is just after an ordinary rainfall. And there's an old concrete abutment there that was part of the old original so-called second bridge. Next slide, please. The challenges really are, in addition to erosion, we have invasive plant species like Norway maple, glossy buckthorn, And we have a major concern with the fact that hemlock woolly adelgid is an invasive insect which is turned up in southwestern Nova Scotia, and it is now moving in our direction. And unfortunately, it's capable of killing mature hemlocks in the stand. And that certainly represents a potential threat, which will probably come to visit us sooner than we want. Okay, next slide, please. This shows the zoning of the from the county, and the O1 area is the area that's the water flow into Elderkin Brook, and really gives you an indication of just how surrounded we are by other land uses. Next slide. And this was an old slide from the time when Kent was just beginning to make their proposal. And now, of course, there's a fully developed store there and lumberyard. And there are, as you can see from the image, there are several properties along there that are essentially landlocked, and they could be a real hazard if they are developed, because they provide a buffer for that ravine area that's really important, and that really minimizes any potential damage to the ravine. Next slide, please. So we have several challenges there that I highlighted. Very recently, of course, we have the RCMP building in New Minas, the Valley Crossroads Center, and more recently, of course, the Miners Landing Apartments. There could be anything up to 188 units when they eventually complete their 4 buildings. So that's going to continue to put a bit of pressure on it, and we should consider that as a future thing that needs to be considered. Next slide, please. So really what we're suggesting is you continue to develop a working group to plan strategy. And we were just beginning the first tentative steps when COVID arrived last year. So there's an opportunity there to do an Elderkin Brook watershed evaluation, and the existing trail could reconnect to the Harvest Moon Trail if the path through the floodplain is restored with a boardwalk and a small pedestrian bridge to replace the missing second bridge, as we call it. So there's an opportunity there to collaborate between Town of Kentfield, Village of New Minas, Kings County, and hopefully NS Nature Trust to support applications to assist with land purchase or establishing easements or whatever. So really action is important now, and to consider and protect the ravine because it'll really provide a significant return on investment through positive publicity, enhanced tourism and immigration, and also a contribution to a green economy. Next slide, please. So we really envision, as this slide says, a ravine spur as an integral part to the nearby Harvest Moon Trail. And this would connect through Eves Hollow and along down to the old railway bridge, or to the old railway bed, I should say. And so there's a real opportunity there to have everything on the level, because if I recall correctly from the early 70s, when that second bridge was in place, the people who were rehabilitating from heart problems or whatever were encouraged to take a walk up into the ravine, because at that time there was an area that had very little slope and you could just simply walk in and walk out. Right at the moment, of course, we have a very steep slope, and it's even tough for someone like me to get up and down that slope on a bad day, particularly if it's been raining. Anyway, that's it. That's just a quick update as to what we've done. I'll entertain any questions. I'm sorry.
Thanks very much, Ken. I'm sorry, I was on mute and
Yes, okay. I was going to say something.
no words were coming out. Thank you very much for that presentation. You know, it's horrible that we have to say that that COVID stopped our progress as far as you know, sitting down because I know that our recreation director, Director Bedingfield, and her team were actively, you know, pursuing your expertise and friends of the Ravines expertise on how we were going to move forward with that. So you are in our mind. Please keep that in mind. But now I'll entertain the questions. Councillor Maxwell, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you for a presentation. It was really good. As a person who grew up here in Kentfield, I remember the days when that second bridge was there, and it was much easy access to come in from that parking lot in through, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful walk. It was in through that area and much more accessible to the general public than what is going on there right now. I think a boardwalk through there is exactly what we need. And I, sit on the Annapolis Valley Trails Coalition, and I know, they would like to connect that piece with the Harvest Moon Trail. And there are grants and so on available to do some of the work on there. So I would encourage you to keep this group that was going before COVID to keep it going, and let's get that bottom half completed so everybody gets a chance to see the ravine.
Yeah, and there's a real opportunity there because of the fact that it's right on the boundary between the two constituencies. Yeah. And so there's potentially two constituencies, Kings North and Kings South, plus players from the county and also from the village and of course the town as well. And hopefully we can get some involvement from Nova Scotia Nature Trust. And we have some feelers out to them and they are interested in being briefed, but we haven't gotten to the briefing yet.
Yeah, well, keep up the good work. That's what I'd say. So thank you very much.
It's not just me. There's a lot of other people that are involved in this. I'm just the spokesperson.
I understand that. So just pass that along to everybody.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ken. Does not appear there's any other questions, but as Councillor Maxwell said, she's on the Trails Coalition, so anything coming from that end, she will naturally bring it to council. And as you know, we have both an active transportation plan in the works and an accessibility plan, and both of these have components that cover off that boardwalk and making it accessible to all. So stay tuned. There's some pretty exciting things happening here.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll move on to our next presentation. And it's a presentation with regards to this Kentfield Skatepark with Mccloud. Matt, you're on mute.
Hi there. It looks like I may be off of mute there now.
Yes.
Now everybody, hello. Would you like me to share my screen?
Sure.
All right. I'll get going here.
I won't start the timer till the screen is up. There we go.
Great. Well, that was great listening to what Ken had to say there. And I guess when he talked about two gems in our backyard, I can talk about a third gem in our backyard, and that's the Kentfield Skatepark. And it's nice to see that the Kentfield Skatepark doesn't encroach in any of those valuable ecosystems of the Kentfield Ravine. But I'll get into my presentation here. And I just wanted to give a bit of history and background on the Kentfield Skatepark and to talk about how we can finish this awesome piece of recreation infrastructure. So I formed the Kentfield Skate Park Association back in 2013. It's hard to believe it's been that long. We became a registered nonprofit, and our group represents skateboarders, BMX riders, and scooter users. And really, our goal was to bring awareness about the benefits of a nice cast-in-place concrete skateboard park that is regional in scale. We were seeing what was going on nationally and within our province in terms of these awesome pieces of recreation infrastructure coming up and the benefits that they served the members of the community. And we wanted to bring something like that to our county and to our town. And so what we recognized and what we wanted to communicate to everyone, the benefits of skateboard parks. And these benefits include accessibility. Skateboard parks are open from dawn till dusk. They don't have set user times. They have really low user cost. We don't have facilities fees or entrance fees to use them. So that really provides greater accessibility to a real cross-section of members of our community. It provides physical activity, in particular for segments of our young people who may not be attracted to team sport or other activities like that. These facilities, when they're made properly, are really low maintenance. These facilities aren't made to last years, they're made to last decades. And aside from the upfront construction cost, there's really low maintenance costs long-term for these facilities. And they provide the opportunity for regional programming, whether it's through demos or contests or other types of programming. There's a real value in these facilities, and we're already seeing that with the Phase 1 street course that we have in Kenpo. So when we started this project back in 2013, we realized that we needed to share this vision in a way that could really convey this value to members of the community that might not have be aware of these alternative sports. And so we entered into the design phase, and the design contract was awarded to New Line Skateparks out of Toronto. And we had a couple of public meetings with Bill Gurney, who came down from New Line, and we had interested user groups come to the Kentfield Fire Hall on 2 different occasions, and we had brainstorming sessions. And we really wanted to build a skate park in Kentfield that met the particular interest and needs of the users in our community. And we came up with a design that you see here, pretty familiar in a lot of ways there. This is a one-of-a-kind park that you won't see anywhere else in this country or this province. And the Phase 1 street course has just been a hit right from the get-go. On a nice day in the summer, you're going to see 100+ people at this park, and it's I think it speaks for itself in terms of its popularity. And we were able to use this design to help build momentum to get this park built, because we realized that this is a big piece of infrastructure. These aren't inexpensive to build, and so we needed to get to work. And our nonprofit organization itself raised over $66,000 to put towards the skate park. And that came from a lot of different places. We did our own fundraisers with silent auctions. We got together with service groups in the community. We really did a lot of different things to raise that money, as you can imagine. But we also were busy looking at securing grants from different levels of government, the County of Kings, the province of Nova Scotia, through the Recreation Facilities Development Grant, federal government through the Canada 150 infrastructure plan. We were really trying to hit this from all angles, and we were able to have things really come together in 2017 in a great way. And we were building community support and awareness the whole time, and we were acting as a liaison with the youth and communicating with the town of Kentfield. And this is just another example of the level of community support we had. This is Rod McMahon, past president of the Rotary here. This was a check we got from the Michelin Social Club through a washer toss, toss for Joss that they host every summer. We did a Jeans and Jewels event, which was a fundraiser at the Louis Millet Center that the Rotary helped us organize. We just had a lot of fun doing these different things, and it was really heartwarming to see the community support and the people that came through for us. We had teenagers that had birthday parties where they didn't want presents, and they raised money for the skate park, and that was their birthday gift that they gave back to us. So it was really great to see. But what I want to talk about is what's outstanding with our park. What we have there is what we consider phase one of the skate park. It's the street course. And skateboarding, just like other sports, has different disciplines in it. Just like skiing has different disciplines, just like gymnastics has different disciplines, skateboarding has different disciplines. And street skateboarding is the most a well-known discipline, and it's what we see in our current course. We see rails, we see stairs, we see things that people jump on and jump off of, and that's what street skateboarding is. You see a lot of the elements in these skate parks that come from the street environment. But bowl skateboarding is another discipline of skateboarding. And when you think about half pipe riding and bowl riding, you think of these curved walls that skateboarders go up and down as they go back and forth and around and around. And it's a lot more similar to surfing or snowboarding through deep snow than street skateboarding. And different users will enjoy a bowl for skateboarding, and it provides different challenges for the users that already enjoy the street course. So it's a really unique aspect of a skate park. And so skateboard bowl riding is so unique that when we see skateboarding come to the Olympics in 2021, bowl riding is going to be its own discipline. So skateboarding in the Olympics is going to have two events. They're going to have a street course, and they're also going to have a bowl. So, it really goes to show how this is such a unique style of skateboarding that it's its own discipline, even at the Olympic level. And so when we look back to that wonderful design that we're on our way to bringing all the way to reality at the Kentfield Skate Park, this is what we envision as our bowl. It's not as grand as an Olympic bowl, but we'll take what we can get at the county level. So this is going to be a fantastic feature that's going to increase our opportunity for regional programming. It's going to provide unique challenges. It will draw even more users and different users to our facility. And as we know, that's going to be an economic driver for our town. And so what we want to see is the town of Kentfield to approve the budgetary commitment for the bowl and to see this bowl become a reality in 2021. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Matt. Great presentation. And on time, 7:54. You are. Are there any questions for Matt with regards to the bowl or anything to do with our skate park? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just have a question around the sort of what the group looks like now. Are you still actively fundraising as a group? Do you still meet as a group, or did that sort of go away a little bit once the majority of the skateboard park was built, without the bowl, of course?
Right. Yeah, the Kentfield Skate Park Association isn't as active as it was before the street course was built. And honestly, when you look at a lot of the members, we have community members and parents who got involved because their kids rode a scooter. These kids are in university now, right? So there's been enough time passed that our core group of volunteers had certainly put in their time, and to carry that on to at this time was definitely providing its own challenges. And so over the time course of our group's activity, though, we certainly saw a solid 5 or 6 years of good solid fundraising effort, and we hope that effort is what we want to convey to you so that we can put the final piece of the puzzle together for the bowl.
Thanks, Matt, and thanks for all you've done, for this park and all the time and energy and hours that you've put in, because it certainly hasn't gone unnoticed. So thank you for that.
Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for the presentation. Of course, with my background in physical education, I've always been supportive of the skate park. It's amazing to see the growth in skateboarding over the last, I don't know, maybe 15 years. It's just exploded. And there are an awful lot of youth and older adults involved in it now. And so skateboarding, you know, covers a wide variety of our population. It, you know, it looks after young, very young on their little scooters, and then our much older population, males and females. You know, it knows no economic restraints or anything like that. And I just think what we've done in Kentfield, what your group has done, is just been an amazing service to the town, and having that skate park is an awesome thing for us, and as you say, an economic driver for our community. I want to thank you and anybody left in the group who's still pushing this, but you know, I think it's awesome. The physical activity benefits and so on are just amazing, and it does wonders for our population. So thank you very much.
Thank you for that comment. Thank you.
Councillor Sapien.
Thanks, Your Worship. Thanks, Matt, for the presentation. You did a great job. Just remind me, what are the budget, or I guess the cost for the bowl, and it's who's partnering in that? The county too, I would assume.
Right. My understanding that the budgetary commitment that we're looking at is a $200,000 commitment, and that would cover the cost of the bowl. And in terms of financial commitments from different levels, we received, I believe, $150,000 commitment from the county. We were looking at the same amount, I believe, from the province, and 100,000 from the feds. And in terms of if any of that money is still available to go towards the bowl, you know, a large portion of it may have gone towards the phase 1 build, because the street course itself came in, I think, at about $600,000.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Councillor York, did I see your hand up?
You did, but it got addressed. But I will take a second and just thank you, Matt, for your presentation, but also for the hordes of people who sent us emails. It's wonderful to see that level of commitment and enthusiasm and support. And I know that there are a lot of people driving it, but it doesn't have nearly the same impact from 5 people as it does the 130. I think we're encroaching on 100 people, which is enthusiasm at its finest, and I really appreciate that. So thank you very much for either spearheading or encouraging or just actively being a part in that. So thank you.
Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you. Director Bedingfield, did you want to add anything to the values or the funding that we had received?
I think the only thing I would add is that because of the change of cost and everything, so what you'll see in the capital budget this year is actually 220,000 for the cost. But I need to note that the grants and the monies that were raised for the build were for the build in its entirety. So the monies that we've spent in the past are also to go towards the bowl. So ultimately, we're still covering. We're still covering the entire cost. It's just because of some issues that have happened in the past, we weren't able to build the bowl last year. But if you remember, council approved it previously. Yeah, and then the last thing I'll add, I mean, Matt did everything perfectly. The one thing I'll add, during COVID, the skate park was by far our most busiest facility during everything that happened last summer, because that's where youth felt most comfortable. They felt that this was their space that they belonged to, and we couldn't keep them away. And yeah, it's just a really special place. I'm just really proud to be part of it, and you can see how amazing it has been working with the Kenpo Skate Park Association. They're pretty great.
Excellent, excellent. Councillor Maxwell, I see your hand up. Did you want to speak again, or was that a leftover?
That's a leftover.
Okay, very good then. Well, Matt, thank you very much for your presentation. As we've mentioned, this is part of our budget discussions, and I think we're doing capital budget in a week from now. So there will be a posting as far as the Zoom or the Facebook Live, I guess, for our public to watch in on that. And if the price of concrete continues to go up, then perhaps we can find a friendly concrete guy that can just dump a bit where we need it, right? So anyway, we'll throw ourselves at the mercy of our local business people again, and it all comes together. So thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you all for listening. Thank you.
All right. We have a third presentation. Do we? Is Rick Ramsey here for King's Transit Authority? And I believe it's Rick Ramsey. There you are, Rick. Welcome. You're on mute. Rick, you're on mute.
That's probably a good idea. No. As most of you know, I've been the interim general manager of King's Transit since the end of October. And we are trying to recruit a new general manager. In fact, some preliminary interviews happened last week. And hopefully by the end of this week, the consultants who are doing the job for us will have a recommendation on the final list of interview candidates. So that's moving along, perhaps not as quickly as some people want, but it's moving along pretty well. I wonder whether or not I could just use my documents. You have the documents that I'm going to present, and rather than me fumble with the social media, which I'm probably not as great at, I would rather concentrate on my notes so I don't get lost. Would that be okay with everybody?
That works.
Thanks. I appreciate your support. Okay, I think what I'll do, you have the operating budget in front of you, and it consists of 3 columns. On the far right is the budget for last year, and the middle column is what we're projecting actual to be at the end of March last month. And the third column is the column that I'd like to deal with this evening, the 21-22 budget. And you'll see some numbers down the left-hand column there in the middle, and I'll be referring to those notes as I go through. I do not intend to go through line by line. Thank you very much, and you don't want that. I only have 10 minutes. So I will concentrate on the main numbers there to give you a good feel of where King's Transit is going this year financially. So item number 1 is right off the bat. The worst news that I have is the fares for the 21-22 budget, 338,000 compared to 589,000 last year. The projected is only 240,000. Due to COVID, they had shut down for a couple of months during the summer, and the revenue seems to be coming back in October, November, December, but it sort of peaked. So we hope that 338 will be achieved, significantly $200,000 more or less than last year's budget. The second item I'd like to talk about is the mechanics labor, $62,000. That's the amount of labor that our mechanics do for Digby and Annapolis, and we charge them. The 4210 on the far left is the operating grants required from the municipalities this year. $941,000 compared to $971 last year. However, there was an extra $330,000 required this year from the partners. And when we looked at it, it really strictly is the revenue loss projected. If we can increase that revenue over the 338 that we projected, that 330 won't be required, but it's really based on that loss and some other expenses that we had to incur, like cleaning costs, but majority of it is the operating grant. So I put, the CAO is asked to put those on 2 lines rather than the 1, so that when you look back at the records, it'll show you why that year you had to pay that much money. Item number 3, the salaries, admin salaries and wages is for the 10 months of the general manager and the accountant and 1 other person. The workers' compensation number 4, you'll see it's up quite a bit. The rate went up substantially for transit to get all together. And in fact, even our insurance, the transit industry, the costs have increased in those 2 areas dramatically. The legal and audit, $23,000 is based on the quote that we have for our audit, plus some legal fees if we have to spend those. Marketing, we have included in this year's budget a special marketing and promotion contract. We'll want to know how we can get our ridership back. We'll want to know who rides the bus. We want to know who doesn't ride the bus. We'll want to take a look at the routes that we go to make sure that they're as efficient as they should be. So we put $35,000 in there, hopefully, and we've also applied for a grant from the provincial government to help us in that regard. Item number 7, professional fees, is the 2 months. My fees are in there in the in the professional fees, not up in salaries. So that includes 2 months of my cost as well as the other professional fees that we may incur. Item number 8, building cleaning supplies, obviously up from last year due to COVID. We have more cleaning to do and a different type of cleaning that we are required to do due to COVID. That's going to continue, I'm sure. On the second page, I want to talk about, sorry, at the bottom of that page, 57, line 5705 is the salaries and wages for our drivers. We employ approximately 15 drivers, including drivers and spares, to go along with the, to make the buses run, obviously. The supervisors, we have 2 supervisors, one looking after the people and one looking after the whole idea of the mechanics of the, how to keep the buses on the road, which bus goes where. Item number, second page, item 9, you'll see that is a large amount, but that is including all of the CPP, workers' comp, medical, dental. That's only all in one figure rather than put it line by line. And I want to go down now to item number 10, the same thing. We estimate the repairs and maintenance to the buses to be approximately the same as last year. These buses, there's 3. We have 4 buses that the kilometers on them are over 1.8 million kilometers on each of those buses. So they're not going to last very long. And when I review the capital budget with you in hopefully a couple of weeks, you'll be able to see the impact of the years that those miles have been accumulating and no buses have been purchased. We're purchasing 1 this year, as you approved last year, but going through the year 2, 3, and 4, you'll see a large increase in the capital budget. So I'll just let you know that now. Item number 11, the fuel cost. Obviously, this is 204,000 is based on the current prices. Last year, the 247 we estimated, but the 109 was all over the place price-wise. During COVID, the diesel price was up, it was down, it was all over the place. We're estimating, however, that the prices will remain pretty constant for this year, and we budgeted 204,000. Our insurance costs of $60,000. We've underestimated there, but we hopefully be able to get some of that estimated fees or down a little bit, but I'm not sure whether we're going to be able to keep it at 60. The bus cleaning again, we at the office here, we have another type of cleaning buses. We have to go in and spray them every night, cleaning much greater depth than we always have. So the total expenses for the year are estimated to be $1.851,000. And if we go back to page 1 on the revenue, you'll see obviously it's the same amount, of course, but you'll see that the revenue increase in revenue has to be picked up by the municipal units to the tune of about $330,000. So that the cost sharing formula, I believe Kentfield's share of this is about 20%. And I believe the cost to the town is going to be approximately another $60,000 for this year, based on the loss of revenue and your share of that extra money that we had to put in the budget. So that's my presentation, Your Worship, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that I can. If I can't, I will call back whoever asked the question.
All right, Rick, thank you very much for the information and for walking us through the spreadsheet, which actually makes it quite easy. I have one question, and I don't know if it goes to you or to our CAO, Troke, but under that operating grant core for the COVID impact, the money that we received from the province, does that backfill some of that?
Yes, Mayor Snow. So a portion of that money is essentially allocated towards the year just closed, and a portion of the money was allocated. Now, it does not cover that entire number, but it does backfill a percentage of it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Deputy Mayor, you've got your hand up.
Worship. Hi, Rick. Thanks for the presentation. So I'm just wondering, sort of when we look at where the loss of revenue is and sort of where some of the shortfalls are, has there been or will there be any sort of kind of efficiency study done on King's Transit to see if maybe there's certain places where we need more routes or places where we need less routes, or some municipalities that it's not working in it. And I understand with COVID and everything, but I know with King's Transit, it just typically seems to be a struggle sort of on a year-to-year basis.
To answer the first part, that's our hope, Councillor Savage, or Deputy Mayor Savage.
No worries.
So that the marketing and the ridership and the route study will determine which routes are maybe unnecessary. Maybe they should be, maybe the bus should be going somewhere else to pick up more passengers. And just as important is we need to get the public interested in transit in general. How can transit improve everything, the climate and whatever? And then as well, we want to look at how can we get the people, as I say, get the butts back in the seats in King's Transit. So all of those will hopefully, it's intended that those would be in the reference for the study, and some answers could be given. And hopefully that will determine if we have maybe too many routes or too many drivers, or what we need. If we need a bus, we need a driver. So, but I hope all of those answers will be received through the study, because you're right. It's time. It's time to do the study. COVID sort of is the top over the top, but you know, I've heard that for a few years just outside. That is King's Transit really efficient? So it won't be a complete efficiency study, but hopefully the answers that we get will result in some efficiencies, or they may say you need more buses on the road.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Okay, great. Thanks, Rick.
You're welcome.
Are there any further questions?
I have just one. I just have one comment, and I know the board would want to pass along its thanks to your representative on the board, Councillor Huntley. She does a good. She's vocal. I mean, no, sorry. Don't get me wrong, Paula. But it's interesting to see the discussion that takes place, and your representative is in there battling for you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Rick. And I'll put this out there. I mean, on an annual basis, I would say that transit has probably had our biggest increases percentage-wise on a budget line item. What if transit fell off the edge? What if we stop funding this? Is that even a question we can ask?
Any question is a good question, and I think that question it's time to answer that question. It's not healthy to hear that from municipalities, for a staff, or from whatever. It's a question from the public point of view, and from your role, it is a question to ask always, whatever service it is. King's Transit we have a 1.8 million here. We also provide a service to Digby Municipality and to Annapolis County, which we share. We pay the cost, but they pay us back, and that's another $800,000. So from Weymouth, we travel to Weymouth to Wolfville Grand Prairie area. It's $2.7 million, and for the Kings, Kentfield, Wolfville, Berwick, it's $1.8 million. I understand that is a big part of your budget. And at some point, I think when we take a look at this promotion and so on, we'll want to, King's Transit will want to sit down with the municipalities and perhaps have a discussion general to get it on the table, and so that you can ask your questions, so that King's Transit can respond. And we may not always agree, but at least the information is out there that we can all share, and we're not afraid to share it one bit, or at least as long as I'm here, we're not. And I hope that can be, it's normally, I guess at some points, the King's Transit presented this budget to all of the units together all at once. That's not a bad idea. This year is just not possible with Zoom and all that, but I would suggest even before the budget time next year, maybe in the fall, is to get all of our councils around the same area, same table, and have a discussion with the new general manager and this key staff here, so that they can hear you and so that they can respond and get the questions off the table. It's time.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Rick. We truly appreciate your frank discourse this evening. So we look forward to hearing from you with the capital budget in a couple of weeks.
Okay,
All
thanks
right.
for having me.
Thank
Rick.
you.
Good night.
Good night. All right, the directors have provided their reports for your review and are present if there are questions. CAO Trope, could you please introduce our department reports and recommendations?
Sure. So we'll start off the evening with finance with Director Kroll.
Thank you very much, Dan, for that introduction. I'm bringing 4 reports tonight of financial interest to council. The first being the report for the month ended March 31st, 2021. We don't have any schedules A and B attached to your report this month because we're working on the year-end working paper files, and the draft financial statements are in the process of being prepared. The financial position of the town will change over the course of the process. And we expect that the audit will begin as per usual the day after Victoria Day. This date would be May the 25th. So we're looking forward to getting all that piece of work done for us. The summary of outstanding taxes, we're looking at March 31st, 2021, that we've achieved more than 100% of our current taxes collectible. Some of our citizens, our corporate citizens and residential citizens, have paid in advance on their 2021-22 tax levy. Right at the end of March, we have 101.8% collected as compared to last year's figure of 101.3. Total property tax is in a credit balance at the end of March, $161,203 as compared to last year's figure of $120,356 in a credit balance. On the perpetual fund side, the Investment Advisory Committee met on April the 7th to discuss the year ended March 31st, 2021. At cost, the fund total investments are $13.3 million, at market around $14 million. The interest and dividends achieved in the fiscal year 2021 totaled $465,383. That is what will be withdrawn from the fund. We've received to date the check for $460,000. However, once everything was balanced, there is an amount owed to the town from the perpetual fund of $5,383. The capital investment plan is Schedule C. We're looking at the program being shut down. We're done for the year for 2021. 92% of the budget has been expended. It's around $1.96 million has been built in this fiscal year. You can see the specific details on the capital fund in pages G1 to G7. And that's my report from the Finance Department for the month ended March 31st, 2021.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions from any member of council with regards to this report? None? All right, then we'll move on to your projection report, please, Director.
Yes, thank you very much, Your Worship. The projection report is preliminary figures at the year ended March 31st, 2021. The surplus position of the town has changed significantly. It's moved from last month's surplus projection of around $8,600 to a projected surplus position of around $287,400. It's a wild swing. And I'm not going to read you all the particulars because almost every account has changed. Hopefully you have a chance to read all the details in the report. But Mother Nature was very good to us this year. Thank you, Mother Nature. I really appreciate it. Dave and I are clapping our hands in glee. There are savings in the snow removal budget, somewhere in the vicinity of around $105,000 to date. Now, whether there's a few small invoices out there, I'm not sure. We're shutting down our accounts payable on Friday. That'll be the line drawn. So I'll have a better picture of where our actual surplus position will be at the end of the next couple of weeks. There have been many savings as well across the board in travel and conventions. Community economic development had a great deal of savings in the cancellation of many events, and promotional activities fell well under budget, as well as tourism accounts fell well under budget. Some projected revenue streams did better than we had thought they would do. Back check came in at $10,000 higher than projected last month, which was really good news. the street sweeper had absolutely no budget, and it did $16,000 worth of business for us in this past year. So that was another win. Miscellaneous revenue was over budget, $33,700, and provincial recreation grants came in at $19,500, and those were unbudgeted as well. So there's a lot of these unbudgeted items that have affected the revenue streams as well. So anyway, we will have a better picture on the surplus position of the town in the next couple of weeks, and I'll certainly get that relayed to you when we have a better handle on that. But we're looking at a fairly significant surplus thanks to our Mother Nature. So that's my report on the projections for the fiscal year, March 31st, 2021.
All right, thank you very much. Members of council, are there any questions with regards to this projection report? None? All right, then we'll move along to debenture funding.
Is that the next one? Yes, it is. Okay, I have my reports mixed up. Never mind. Debenture funding, yes. The Nova Scotia Municipal Finance Corporation has told us that debenture funds will be issued in the spring, and Kentfield is looking to require debenture funding for the following. Temporary borrowing resolution for 2021-01 for various purposes. The approved limit was $846,600, and the request that we're asking of the Nova Scotia Municipal Finance Corp is $662,600. We also have temporary borrowing 2021-02 for sanitary sewer purposes. The limit approved was $215,000, and we're looking at the funding request of $100,000. The council must approve a pre-approval resolution and forward it to Nova Scotia Municipal Finance Corporation. And the attached, there you will find attached the pre-approval resolutions along with a copy of the temporary borrowing resolutions for your easy reference. A letter of commitment will be sent to Nova Scotia Municipal Finance Corporation this week, along with a copy of the temporary borrowing resolutions. The pre-approval resolutions will be forwarded to the minister once they are ratified by council. The deadline for submission is this Friday, April the 16th. So my recommendation reads that I recommend to Council Advisory Committee that the attached resolutions for pre-approval of debenture issuance be approved and forwarded to a special meeting of Town Council for ratification. After ratification, it will be forwarded to the Nova Scotia Municipal Finance Corporation to complete our debenture issue for the spring 2021. And you can see the information related to the resolutions and the purpose and the funding requested. In total, we're looking for $762,600.
All right, thank you very much, Director Kroll, on that one. And if we take the director's recommendation and we will turn it into a motion that CAC recommends approval to Town Council of the attached resolutions, TBR 2021-01, various capital projects in the amount of $662,600, and TBR 2021-02 for sanitary sewer in the amount of $100,000 for pre-approval of debenture issuance in the amount of $762,600 and forwarded to a special council meeting tonight, the 12th of April, 2021 for ratification. And further, after ratification, be forwarded to the Nova Scotia Municipal Finance Corporation to complete the town's debenture issue for spring 2021. If someone could move that, please. Councillor Maxwell, thank you. And a seconder? Councillor Huntley, thank you. It has been moved and seconded that CAC recommends approval to Town Council of the attached resolutions, TBR 2021-01, various capital projects in the amount of $662,600, and TBR 2021-02 for sanitary sewer in the amount of $100,000 for pre-approval of debenture issuance in the amount of $762,600 and forwarded to a special council meeting tonight, the 12th of April, 2021 for ratification. And further, after ratification, that it be forwarded to the Nova Scotia Municipal Finance Corporation to complete the town's debenture issue for spring 2021. Is there any discussion on this matter? There being no discussion, are you ready for the question? The question is that CAC recommends approval to Town Council of the attached resolutions, TBR 2021-01, various capital projects in the amount of $662,600, and TBR 2021-02 for sanitary sewer in the amount of $100,000 for pre-approval of debenture issuance in the amount of $762,600 and forwarded to a special council meeting tonight, the 12th of April, 2021 for ratification. And further, after ratification, and be forwarded to the Nova Scotia Municipal Finance Corporation to complete the town's debenture issue for spring of 2021. Deputy Mayor, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Gerard?
Yes.
Councillor Huntley? Councillor Maxwell?
Yes.
Councillor York?
Yes.
Councillor Zabian?
Yes.
And I say yes, the motion is carried. Thank you very much. Director, your next one, please.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. The last item to bring before council tonight is the resolution for withdrawal from the capital reserve. This is draw number 3. This is to complete the capital acquisitions that were built in 2021. Large invoices did arrive at the very end of March, which have to be funded. At the end of the day, we're looking at draw number 3 for a variety of projects, and you can see them listed there on the right-hand side of the document. Totals $245,142.92. For council's information, the budget to be withdrawn in 2021 from reserve was $592,600. These 3 draws that we have taken total $584,292.09. So it falls within the budget figure, even though some of the projects were changed or canceled and other things replaced them. But at the end of the day, we fall within budget. So my recommendation reads that I recommend to Council Advisory Committee that the attached resolution be approved for withdrawal of $245,142.92 from the Town of Kentfield Capital Reserve General Allocation. And this transfer will finance several capital acquisitions during the year 2021. And I recommend that it sit before council at the next meeting for ratification.
Thank you, Director. And if we take the Director's recommendation and turn it into a motion, Council Advisory Committee recommends approval to Town Council of the withdrawal of $245,142.92 from the town's capital general allocation to fund several acquisitions during the year 2020-2021 at the April 26, 2021 meeting. Someone could move that, please.
So moved.
Councillor York, thank you. And Zabian Andrew, was that yours? Thank you, Councillor. It has been moved and seconded that CAC recommends approval to Town Council of the withdrawal of $245,142.92 from the town's capital general allocation to fund several acquisitions during the year 2020-21 at the April 26, 2021 meeting. Is there any discussion on this matter? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Director Kroll, just a question around the $95,353 around the green space for Webster Street that says in parentheses, no grant.
Yes.
How much were we anticipating in a grant for that project? Do you know?
We had about $50,000 slated as the grant from the province of Nova Scotia, which it did not materialize.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further on that matter? Are you ready for the question? The question is that CAC recommends approval to Town Council of the withdrawal of $245,142.92 from the town's capital general allocation to fund several acquisitions during the year 2020-2021 at the April 26, 2021 meeting. Deputy Mayor, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Gerard?
Yes.
Councillor Huntley?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell?
Yes.
Councillor York?
Yes.
Councillor Zabian?
Yes.
And I say yes, the motion is carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Director. Moving on to Planning and Development with Director Gentleman, please. You're on mute. No, can't hear you.
I can go while you can help, sir.
We can see you perfectly fine.
Would you like me to go and then Jason can help her out?
Okay, that sounds like a plan. Jason, is this something that you can do on the fly? I guess it is. All right, let's move on to recreation with Director Bedingfield, please.
Good evening, Council. I just have a few things I wanted to highlight about my report that you have in front of you. Just a note to everyone that this time of year is the year that we close our fields, just to keep them looking okay and not in total disarray when sports start up again. So just a reminder, our playgrounds and trails are still open, but we're trying to keep folks off the field as much as possible. Happy/sad to announce that the arena has officially closed for the season. April 3rd was the day, and the water has been drained and the plant has been turned off. And we made it through an interesting season, I would say, doing pretty well. Anyway, but thank you so much to all of the amazing staff who worked their butt off and managed to pivot 3,000 times throughout a tumultuous year. Under operations, I just wanted to mention, speaking of staff, that Julia Stevenson, who was our active living community coordinator, has moved on to other things, and we're excited to welcome back Lydia Broderick into the role she had covered for Julia previously when she was on maternity leave. Yeah, we're really fortunate to have had Julia in our family for as long as we did, and we wish her all the best. And the last piece I wanted to mention was that the accessibility plan, the committee did meet the plan. We have the final copy, and we are very excited and planning to bring it to council at the next CAC next month. And that's my report.
Excellent, thank you very much. Does any member of council have any questions for the director with regards to her report or any of the current programs that we have happening? Nothing. Okay, then. Well, we'll move back over to planning. Bev, have you got your voice?
Bev, I tried to keep it long. Oh man.
No. It's Rachel's voice. No voice.
Mayor, would you like me to just do a quick run through for council here?
Okay, that sounds like a plan.
Okay. Well, the package includes most of the information, but I just wanted to point to a couple of things. Obviously, we have 17 development permits that have been issued, 4 subdivision applications, so total building valuation of about $1.4 million. So lots of activity on the go. Obviously, if you drive around town, you see new home construction underway in a lot of places, but also the expansion on the multi-unit side. So Ryan's Park is progressing. They're at the point there where the site plan and architectural renderings are in front of us. So continuing to move ahead as you typically would see in a development phase. Miners Landing has moved on to their 4th building. And are moving ahead. So there was a great deal of interest there. But also the business park, we continue on a daily basis to be getting calls on the few remaining parcels that are left. So lots of activity in town there. I guess really the big piece is that council, we're planning on doing a update to our MPS. So the intent would be a week from Wednesday, we'll be getting council together to hold that session. So not just some of the items that we'll want for housekeeping, we're encouraging council, if there's certain items you'd like to discuss or you'd like council or you'd like staff to do some work ahead of time, please reach out to me and we'd be happy to include them just in case there's an item or two that has been brought to you by residents that you'd like us to also include in that discussion. Obviously, this MPS process is one where we're going to not just internally look at information, but there's a public consultation process to this. So we'll have lots of opportunity for individuals to have their say on what potential changes, not just language, but also from a zoning perspective could come forward. And I think I will not get into too much of the smaller detail, but again, the amount of permits being pulled is up. The dollar value of those is up, and so lots of activity in town. Yeah, I think we'll stop there.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions on anything in this this report for the CAO? Bev's mic is definitely not functioning. All right, then we'll move on to the Community Economic Development Coordinators Report, CAO.
Yes, so a couple things going on. So obviously, the Visitor Information Center is going to be opening up the first week of June. So things progressing there. We're not sure what our tourism season is going to look like this year, but we obviously want to make sure that anybody stopping in town or looking for information obviously has access to that. The final grant reports are being submitted for those that are being received. So we'll be moving forward on that activity. The other piece I wanted to mention is that Center Square, there's a lot of activity going on there. I sent a quick email out to council today. So not only are the banners up, but we're getting ready to expand the pilot that was started last year to try and get more weeks on the front end of that. So we already have groups who are booking the area to both from a music and from a meeting perspective. So the space is going to be utilized, and I think it's one of those things that it's going to continue to help with the presence of a lot of groups in that area. And we're obviously going to be keeping a close eye on making sure the area stays clean and is accessible for everybody over the next number of months. So the key piece, I guess I would say there, is that work, which was started last year, is launching and actually launching a little bit ahead of schedule. I also wanted to mention there has been a meeting of the group who normally would be putting together the Devil's Half Acre motorcycle event. What they're looking to do this year is trying to put together a run to support a number of charities. So stay tuned on information for that. But the planning committee has had its initial meeting and looking for ways to do this, obviously in a safe way, but also hoping to make sure that the group continues active and that maybe we can support a few local charities and get folks out for a good cause. So yeah, high level, that touches on the report.
Excellent, thank you very much. CAO, just as a matter of course for our audience and perhaps anybody thinking about doing something in Center Square, how would they go about getting permission to use Center Square for a social event?
So thank you, Mayor Snow. So obviously contact the office. Lindsay Young is coordinating a lot of the activities that are going on down there. So just reach out to our town office. We'll make sure that we get people in touch with those who are looking to plan. You know, even if it's something that is small or big, we're interested in hearing from them if you're looking to put something on this summer.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions for the CAO on either of those reports? Okay, nothing. We will be moving on. CAO, are you doing the police one, or is Chair of the Police Commission doing police?
I, at this point, was going to just table the report as is. I didn't have anything specific. I didn't know, Councilor Gerard, if you had anything to add.
I have nothing to add, but if anybody has any questions on the chief's stats, I can try to answer them, as she's already gone over these with us at the commission.
Is there anything with regards to any of the stats we've been provided with? No? All right, golden. Moving right along to Department of Engineering and Public Works. Director Bell.
Good evening, Your Worship and Council. I'll just touch on the highlights from my report, CAC. First item ties in with Matt's skate park presentation. In 2019, Nova Scotia Environment sent a letter to the town informing us that during a routine review, it was discovered their environmental / brownfield file on the skate park property at the corner of West Main and Gary Pearl Drive was never properly closed. I'm pleased to report that after a few meetings, monitoring wells drilled, reports, and about 18 months of back and forth, they have closed their file on the skate park. So this now will allow us to plan for the next phase of the skate park project, being the bowl. Under Public Works, we've completed the interviews for the downtown maintenance position last week and have offered the successful candidate the probationary position and expect them to start within 2 weeks, which would be basically 2 weeks today, April 26th. Patch paving tenders, I had written have been, but it should say will be posted to our procurement page this week and will close the 4th week of April. Typically, local asphalt plants open the second half of May. The Water Commission, we had a meeting a few weeks ago, but I updated the Water Commission members then, but Public Works has identified and repaired a large or significant blockage in the water transmission line that leaves Mitchell Avenue, the water treatment plant pumping up to the business park tank. The blockage was caused by a buildup of chemical treatment chemical sodium hydroxide that we add to the water for pH correction. Now that this section has been replaced, we have decided to switch the chemical additive from 50% solution to 30% as the freezing point of the diluted solution drops from 14 degrees Celsius down to 1 degree. We feel this change will significantly reduce or even eliminate the chemical buildup in the pipeline as it's injected into the water, which is 7 to 10 degrees, depending on the time of year. So this switch should greatly reduce future maintenance costs and service interruptions. Today, it's not my report, but today, just as an update over at the intersection of Belcher and Cornwallis, Black and McDonald were there today to replace 2 of the sort of the worst condition traffic lights, and we'll plan to replace a couple of additional ones in the near future. That will replace the main 4 hanging ones that are upwards of 30 years old now. And that is the highlights of my report, and certainly open for questions.
All right, thank you very much. Councillor Zabian, please.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thanks, Director Bell. Just wondering, whatever happened with on Webster Street there with King's Transit and that bus stop, did that get permanently moved now to River Street, or was there any more discussion?
I've had a few discussions. Sorry, I didn't mean to catch you up.
No, go ahead. I'm done. Yeah.
Had a few discussions with their operations supervisor. He was going to come in, and I've called him a few times, but he was going to come in with a bus and an operator early, shortly after in the new year, and sort of check the corner to see if they want to consider going back to that, if we need to adjust any parking stalls. But he said at this point in time they're happy sort of keeping the River Street route. It's working better for them and cutting several minutes off their route. So I think if that's the case, we probably should look at maybe a bit of a pedestrian walkthrough past where I guess Pharmacy is to River Street, because that's sort of the cut through now, and it's just sort of the gravel parking lot. But that's a consideration for better pedestrian access to the downtown from the current bus stop.
That's it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Bell. I'm just wondering about the patch paving tenders. How did you figure out which areas needed the patch paving?
How do we figure it out, like this year, or how do we any year, I guess?
Yeah.
It's a tender. Right now, it's a tender. Sort of the form that the town has always used is sort of a non-specific. It starts out, of course, with the downtown core streets that are, also normally on the parade route on a normal year when the Apple Blossom Parade is on. So that has to be done before the end of May, and then we move into a June deadline for streets sort of in subdivisions and outside of the downtown core. I guess even the downtown core includes main routes like Cornwallis Avenue up through town. So there's no, on the tender itself, it's not a specific location. It's on an as needed basis. We highlight areas that are critical for the successful contractor, and they patch pave either by simply hand patching potholes, or in larger sections they would mill and use a small spreader to spread, like they did that last year out on Park Street. They spreaded several strips that were certainly more effective than just the hand patch. But the tender doesn't include specific locations.
Okay, thank you. But that's just a temporary fix, the patch paving, is it?
Patch paving is just operational. Yeah, it's not like a doing a street from, like we did Gladys Porter Drive or Blair Avenue last year. That's more of a capital project that gets tendered on, with capital. Those are site specific, but patching is just that, patching.
So if there were areas in around the town that councillors knew about that needed some patch paving, could they pass that along to you or to CAO?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're always compiling a list, and there'll be several rounds throughout the summer season to do we do the worst areas first, and then sort of move into the subdivisions and residential areas later on in the summer.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, are there any further questions for the director? None? All right, then moving on to you, CAO.
Thank you very much. Just quickly want to touch on the fact that the operational budget is ready to roll out for discussion with council. Wednesday, April 14th will be our session to discuss that. The capital will follow in the following week. I will put in the plug already that knowing that there seems to be a lot of things coming out in the federal budget, we'll go through the capital budget knowing that there may be a few items that still may have some decision points after that, but I think it's important for us, and as per the discussion you just had with Director Bell, there's a number of things we want to get moving on, particularly in the areas of paving and whatnot. We don't want to wait trying to get various tenders out. On the accessibility side, the accessibility plan revisions have come in through the committee. So the plan will be coming forward to council in May, and great amount of work that's been done there, and even identification of a number of things that need some changes, and even some items like some bad sections of sidewalk and whatnot for folks. So we've been getting a lot of good feedback from the group. They've been talking a lot about things that can always be improved. So great conversation, but more importantly, real dedication to putting the accessibility plan together. The council itself has been responding to some inquiries from me around getting ideas down for a strategic planning session. So thank you for folks who've replied. Please, if you've already submitted information to me, you've thought of anything else, forward it along, or if you'd like to have a sit down, give me a shout. Happy to talk about those items in greater detail so we can put a session together. Farmers Market, we've had the meeting with the Farmers Market group, and the new agreement has been put together. And so the planning around that has been finalized for the coming year with the group. And as I mentioned previously, the MPS review moving forward shortly. And we have a number of groups, including the Devil's Half Acre, looking to do some runs this year in order to try and continue with success, but also raise some money. So, and number of meetings have been ongoing. Great opportunity for me if anybody has any local groups that they'd really like to mention to me to put on my radar screen. I've had a lot reach out to me, so I've had a great opportunity to meet folks, but please, if there's groups you're involved with and you'd like to introduce me, please pass that along. And so that's my report tonight, Mayor.
Excellent, thank you very much. Are there any questions for the CAO on this matter? Or anything else for that matter? All right, looks like you got away clean tonight. So we've heard all of the reports from staff. I would like to accept a motion to accept the staff reports as presented. If someone could move that, please. Deputy Mayor, thank you. Councillor Zabian, I've got you for the second. It has been moved and seconded that staff reports be accepted as presented. All those in favor? Those opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you very much. We have no unfinished business. However, we do have two pieces of correspondence. Well, one of them is actually a summary of the pieces of correspondence. CAO, if you wanted to just highlight us on that one.
Sorry, Mayor Snow, are you referring to the Skatepark correspondence?
Yes, the summary of correspondence on that one.
Right. So we've had a large number of individuals write to the town, and I have no doubt that we have a lot of interest this evening following the presentation, where we've had groups within the Skatepark Association itself, but also individuals have been reaching out, wanting to express their satisfaction with the existing state of the skate park, but also to make sure that they are putting their voice forward and seeing that the capital budget would potentially contain the completion of the bowl and skate park. As Director Bell mentioned, we now from the environmental side know where we stand. And so obviously these will be items that'll be moving forward in the capital budget that'll be coming up in about another week. So I think just shortly, we have a great deal of interest from those around the skate park and seeing that it's completed in the coming year.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And our other piece of correspondence was from our new minister, Brendan McQuire. And that's included in the package for anyone who wishes to review that. So we will move on now to our new business, and it's a request for decision, and it was submitted by Councillor Zabian. So Councillor Zabian, I will give you the floor.
All right, thank you, Your Worship. Wanted to bring to your attention the Kenpo Silver Gliders who've used the rink in Kenpo for decades. This year they had a trying year, which as most people did during the pandemic. And normally their fees that they collect from their skaters, I think they cover about 2/3 of their costs. And this year, obviously, because of restrictions, they couldn't have the regular amount of skaters, so they had to turn people away. And as well, they couldn't have fundraising and competitions and whatnot. So their funding, I guess, was down quite a bit. And I didn't realize, I'm glad that this was brought to my attention. I didn't realize that they themselves pay around $50,000 a year for ice rental at the rink. So they're under right now. They still owe the town around $7,000. They paid, I believe, $43,000, and they're being charged interest right now at 2%. I myself think we should give them waive the interest charges on this, and I'd like to put a motion, I guess, on the table for that.
Okay, so before proceeding, if it's okay with you, I'd like to provide the CAO with an opportunity to update us with regards to a staff recommendation. So typically, a request for decision when it comes in from a member of council, staff has an opportunity to do a little bit of research and provide us with their input as well. And because due to timing, that wasn't provided on this one. So I would like to give the CAO the opportunity before you do make your motion, Councillor.
Sure, okay.
All right, so CAO, please.
Thank you. And thank you, Councillor Zabian, for forwarding along a lot of the information you've been receiving on this. It's helpful to make sure that we can round out the conversation to make sure we know what folks are asking for. First, I guess with regards to the specific request, the outstanding balance will be due the end of the month. So in fact, we have, before any additional interest would be charged to this account, we actually have until the end of the month. So as a normal process, what I would normally ask of council is when we receive a request to have an opportunity to look at the current status, provide council with an update. So there, in this case, we don't have a policy that allows for an exemption of interest. That said, there's still all kinds of other ways in which council can have this conversation. What I'd like to be able to do is collect some information from the group as to their own financial situation. And that would be the normal course with any group as to where are they, when do they expect to be receiving revenue flows, just to round out the understanding of the request. And then also, there are a number of grants that are out there. So if grants have been applied for and if they've been declined, or if they're still waiting for information on those grants, that would be information. Again, I just want to be able to round that out to be able to provide council with that. So what I would normally ask in that situation is to take the request that's now been put forward to council by Councillor Zabian, collect that information, provide it to council as a briefing note that then council could make a decision at council meeting. And that would be before the actual balance is due and any additional interest would be charged against this account.
So Councillor Zabian, you have an option here. You can go with the motion that you presented to us, or it can change to directing the CAO to provide a report back to council at the 26th of April 2021 council meeting with the staff's recommendation for a resolution on this matter. So I will leave that to you, to which motion you would prefer.
No, I think I would stick to my original motion. I mean, they've been charged now. I was talking to the Director Cole this morning, and they've been charged 136.80. And then the next bill will come the end of this month. And it's going to keep accumulating. So yeah, I see a lot of benefit from them. So I think I'm going to stick to my original motion.
Okay, so you do realize that if your motion were to fail, that it would end here and we would not be looking for a report from the CAO on this matter.
Correct.
All right then. So we have a motion on the floor that CAC recommend approval to Town Council of waiving the interest charges regarding the outstanding balance owed by the Kentfield Silver Gliders for the 2020-2021 year at the 26th of April, 2021 council meeting. And Councillor Zabin, you're going to move that?
Yes.
And a seconder, please. Councillor Maxwell, thank you. It has been moved and seconded that CAC recommend approval to Town Council of waiving the interest charges regarding the outstanding balance owed by the Kentfield Silver Gliders for the 2020-2021 year at the 26th of April, 2021 council meeting. Is there any discussion on this matter? Councillor York, I saw your hand up.
I have a conflict of interest with this one, so that's all I was here to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're declaring a conflict?
Mm-hmm.
So you can stay on, where did you go? You shifted, your face shifted from my upper corner to over here. So you can stay on the call, just
Okay.
you cannot weigh in on this, this matter.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Discussion, Deputy Mayor.
Your worship. So just so I understand it, and I'll just direct this to CAO Troke. So as it stands right now, we do not have a policy in place operationally to waive interest. So in terms of you being able to go back to the Silver Gliders and talk to them a little bit more around kind of what avenues they've tried to exercise to apply for grants and so on and so forth. That's essentially what you were looking for in terms of taking it back and then having a further discussion with Director Kroll.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. So in essence, if council were to waive the interest fee, in essence, you're providing a grant. We don't have a mechanism, for lack of a better word, to create a negative revenue. So essentially, there is a need to transfer money from someplace to cover that expenditure off. Now, that's for the interest that's already been charged against the particular account. So, you know, outside of a different process, we would be removing money from one budget area to cover that off. So I guess in essence, we'd be calling it a grant.
So then I'll direct this to Her Worship. Should there be something in the motion that depicts this as a grant?
No, because what we will do is we will either pass or fail this motion, and then it will be staff to execute it through the current budget. Or through well, I guess it is the current budget, but you know, the budget that ended on 31 March.
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, is there anything further?
I have a question.
Okay, Councillor Huntley.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm wondering how many more groups out there could possibly ask us to do this? It's not just the one group, because I love them all truly, and they've all struggled for sure. I just like to know if it's a 2% interest and we have 10 groups, then I guess I want to see what sort of number is out there as a total.
Right. Okay, thank you. Councillor Gerard.
Thank you, Worship. I don't think dealing with this motion it's not gonna solve anything. We've got no mechanism, as CAO Troke said, to combat anything like this in the future. So if we wipe it clean tonight, not saying they're not going to pay it off by the end of the month, but conceivably, if it's not, another interest charge we could be looking at this again next month saying we've got to, so I think this really has to be dealt with at the policy level. Through the emails over the weekend, it was brought up about, I can't believe a not-for-profit, and actually they're not necessarily a not-for-profit. They are, there's a society, which I guess essentially is a not-for-profit, not necessarily a charity. That all being said, my thought is almost every group that goes through the rink or the ball fields for that matter is not-for-profit. Acadia Minor Hockey, Kentfield Minor Hockey. And I really think, I agree with one of the emails that came through this weekend from Dan in saying, this will open the floodgates to, we've had a hard year, we need a deal on this. We've had a hard year, we want a discount, we don't want to pay for this. So yes, one of two things: send it through to the grant process, and let the council, from a policy perspective, say these groups don't incur interest if they don't pay their bills on time. That's why I won't be supporting this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Zabian, I do see your hand up, but there's still people who have not spoken on this matter, so they get to talk first. Councillor Maxwell, you're on mute.
Thank you very much. Just looking at this this group and the years that they have been providing this opportunity in town, it's an amazing number of years. When we're concerned about how many other groups are going to come scrambling, I seriously doubt you're going to get very many going to come scrambling looking for this. Where else does a group in Kentfield pay $50,000 to rent a facility? I mean, we don't have that kind of money going out for fields or the rec center or anywhere else. So I think we're looking at a unique kind of group here. Hockey is a different beast altogether than figure skating. And the numbers of people that play hockey and the amount of money that's put into hockey in comparison, it doesn't even compare. So you're looking at a sport where, numbers have been limited. The mainstream of revenue for this group, which is their shows that they put on, any competitions that they have, that would be mainstream revenue. The numbers have been limited due to COVID, so they don't have their full amount of participants. We have made concessions to other people in the community. We've given breaks for taxes. We've given breaks for any number of other things, I think. And I'm looking at this group and I'm going, that's an amazing amount. They're giving every year $50,000 and have been doing that for 40 years to run a program in the town of Kentfield. And the last thing that I want as a councillor in this town is to be nickel and diming our youth and youth programs. Town of Kentfield is not in bad financial shape. We're in good financial shape. And who else should be helping these groups other than the town of Kentfield and Kentfield Council? And and I think it's what our population, what our citizens would expect. And to send a group out to come back and on their knees and say, please, 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 we don't have the money to pay this 2% each month. I mean, to me, that just tastes really, really bad. I think that we have an opportunity here to help this group, and postponing it and not helping and making this group grovel, a group that's been good with us. This is the first time they've ever come talking about interest. They came one other year where they wanted a grant. Yeah, I mean, the group has been going for a long time. And You know, I think if we're postponing this, we're just nickel and diming our youth in this town, and I don't believe in that. So I will support this. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Zabian, I will take this time to add my feelings to this. We've all been provided with the information tonight with regards to the projection reports, and you did see in section 6 that our operating projections for the arena rental revenue was at $272,500, of which we actually only made about $264,000. So therefore, even our arena, our revenues are down on the arena. So I realize that that $48,000 sounds like a lot of money, but at the end of the day, what we have here is a group who, even though they were in a position where they felt that they couldn't pay, they were still booking any available ice time that came free. And we, you know, without concern. Now, the reality is they've been to us 2 years in a row requesting free ice time for practice and for holding their events. In which case we gave them the funding for that both times and said that the next time that you need money, that you should use our grants process, and everything was sent to them. And once again, they are coming back to us and basically holding us hostage of our own policy with regards to interest due. I do not believe that we should be waiving interest. It sets a bad precedence because not only does it set a precedence with regards to our nonprofits or not-for-profits or charities, but for any person not paying a fee in the town of Kentfield, we would have set the precedence for them not to have to pay interest. And you know, it's very important that that we do keep our financial house in order. And so I will pass the floor to you, Councillor Zabian.
Thank you, Your Worship. When I look at this, though, I think back to last spring when most of you voted on giving a reprieve to taxpayers on their property taxes. You didn't charge them interest if they were late. So if you look at how much revenue potentially was lost then, and I also think when I look at this now, I'm a little disappointed because it's $136. So if they go a couple of months, it's $600. You know, you're worried about $600 and about that financial part, but you're not looking at the money that might have been wasted in the last 4 years or 8 years or 12 years. Money's wasted all the time, unfortunately. And I mean, we're talking about $136 for kids to go and skate, and it is a nonprofit. And it's something that's been 40 years. So I am a little disappointed just to hear that. I think people do deserve a break. We've sat here before and we've given breaks to people before my time and in my time. And I just think, it's unfortunate to see this conversation has to go this deep, and we have to send it back to staff now or to the CAO who's busy with other things on such a small thing. They're not looking to not pay their bill. They just don't want to pay interest. And I mean, every situation is different. So you can sit there and say, well, 40 more groups may come forward, but every situation is different. So that's where I stand with that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there any further discussion on this matter? Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you. I just wanted to point out that we just had a finance report that said that the town of Kentfield was in a surplus position. It's not unusual that we would be not meeting our revenues for the rink, but we are making revenues in other areas in this town. And again, the amount is so small that, you know, as Councillor Zabian points out, there's been lots of money wasted over the last few years. And I think that, you know, it really upsets me to hear some of the comments from my fellow councillors here. And it seems like there's no regard for youth and youth.
Councillor Maxwell, I will caution you on your comments, please. You are now criticizing your fellow councillors.
Well, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Worship. So I think, and I always come back to policy and process, and I guess that's just sort of who I am, but I do. And I just, Councillor Zabian, would you at all consider initially what Dan had or CAO Troke had suggested in terms of sort of revisiting this and having an opportunity to meet with the Silver Gliders, and because this may help them in their future years as well. And I don't, you know, I think I had posed a question last night to CAO Troke about, you know, acknowledging that during the COVID year, you know, we had you know, delayed tax bills from the residents and things like that to help them out with cash flow. And I wasn't sure if we offered anything to some of the organizations that perhaps were having some cash flow difficulties over the past year due to COVID and fundraising being down, things like that. So I'm assuming by this conversation that we're not. And to me, it's not about the fact that it's only $136. It's more about sort of what it sets for a go forward basis. So I'd rather deal with the policy piece now, and so that if we run into this again, at least we have something that says, okay, we have a policy around this in terms of waiving interest, and this is what we can do for you up to a certain amount or something. That was a lot, but I kind of, yeah.
You want me to speak, right?
Certainly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. No, I'm going to stick with my motion. I think that maybe down the line that there should be a policy in place, but I think right now this is pretty simple. It's cut and dry. And I think pushing it off now is just prolonging something that's so easy. You know, sometimes it's black or white, and to me, that's what it is. I don't see that we need to go into huge detail and waste the CAO's time and waste time talking about this again in 2 weeks or in 4 weeks. So yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there any further discussion on this matter? There's no discussion. Are you ready for the question? The question is that CAC recommends approval to Town Council of waiving the interest charges regarding the outstanding balance owed to the Kentfield Silver Gliders for the 2020-2021 year at the 26th of April 2021 council meeting. Deputy Mayor, how say you?
No.
Councillor Gerard, how say you?
No.
Councillor Huntley, how say you?
No.
Councillor Maxwell, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor York, you have declared a conflict. Councillor Zabian, how say you?
Yes.
And I say no, the motion is defeated. All right, we will, the council has 3 matters which must be conducted in a closed session. We do require a motion to go into the closed session to discuss the agenda items. We will not be returning to Facebook Live for adjournment of this meeting, nor will we be coming back to Facebook Live for the special meeting. Our special meeting is with regards to the debenture, and for our audience, you've already heard the amounts of it, and that information will be posted as part of a minute package. So if I could have a motion to move into a closed session to discuss the agenda items, please. Thank you. Deputy Mayor, and my second, I've got Councillor York. So it has been moved and seconded that council move into the closed session. The question is on adoption of the motion to move into a closed session. All those in favor? Those opposed? The motion is carried and the time is 7:47. All right, recording has